All during lockdown I was in a series of meetings with North Ayrshire and my colleagues on Teams and Zoom and so on, just trying to think about how we were going to open up the school. We had people in from North Ayrshire who were measuring 2 metres, and we had furniture that was earmarked to be moved about, and so the classrooms were ready. Obviously we had to put massive order in for PPE, and we spent a lot of time talking to staff about safety procedures and how we could teach and learn safely but effectively. We also spent a lot of time talking to stagecoach to try and negotiate travel on the buses, because at the time it was 2 metre distancing, and that was one of the reasons why we were going into blended learning, which was a week on and a week off. However, just before we came back to school, the arrangements changed, which allowed us to operate what I would call as near normal as possible, a timetable. 1 metre distancing, pupils allowed to travel around with masks, but they didn't have to wear them in classrooms and so on. And I would say that has allowed us to really operate our school pretty nearly as normal. And what I would say is that the young people here have been really compliant, really respectful of older members of staff, and that has been incredibly helpful in allowing us just to run. And I'd say we're getting on really well.
In order to open a school back up, you have to understand all the policy and the strategy that comes out of it, from not just from the Scottish Government, but down to the local authority, and then down to us, quite often with very little warning. So you'd watch Nicola Sturgeon on the TV at the lunchtime. Something would come out that evening from the local authority, and it had to then be actioned by us on Arran. Alongside that is also liaising with our local health and social care partnership to ensure that we're playing a part that would work for the island, and also to make sure that we're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet with that.
If we go back into lockdown, I suppose it would just be more of the same, really, just come back to digital youth work. I think that's the bit that no one knows, isn't it? That it seems as if they're talking that schools will stay open, regardless almost, but other things might close, so I can definitely see a time where we might be closed again, and we'll just have to adapt like we did last time, and we'll just try and keep stuff in place for the young folk.
We have a contingency plan in place, a really thorough contingency plan, which has been constructed by not just senior leaders in the school, but also by faculty leaders and teachers, as well as pupils. And if we go into lockdown, we have a plan in place. I think we've looked at 3 areas. We've looked at the need for students to self-isolate, we've looked at teachers self-isolating, and we've looked at full school closure. And if there is full school closure, which is highly, highly unlikely because the Scottish Government's tiers don't really have that as an option, great. But if we were to do that, I'd be very confident that we would have a full continuous learning. We have tried to make sure that all our students are digitally enabled, so that if we do go into school closure, they can access lessons online. Teachers will be online for them using their timetable, and they will check in with them. We have also started to look at VScene, which is a sort of you can see on the screen like Zoom, and that means that you can actually have virtual classrooms. So we're experimenting with some really quite advanced technology, but also we've got it all online if it was to happen.
Our subjects, the practical subjects, design manufacture, graphics, practical metalwork and woodwork and so on, they're perfect for this kind of scenario where the bulk majority, they're doing so much work in class that we've got all that evidence from day one. They're compiling evidence, so if it does come down to teachers' estimates again, it's firmly based on evidence that they've been producing in class from day one. That was the same last year and it'll be the same this year, so either way.
Well, anyone that's in my class, including you, Finn, will know that every single thing that you do, I am taking photographs of, I am giving extra assessments right from the start. I feel quite stressed about it because I feel that I'm putting extra pressure on you all. We've missed a big chunk of the basic skills, and I feel that we're just kind of pushing you to do all these skills in one dish rather than different dishes with a skill in it. And everything is photographed and everything is documented, and there's paperwork coming out my ears and photographs galore on my computer. And to be honest, most of my course is practical. Even the written exam is based on what you've learned in the practical lessons. They're not kind of separate. So I don't know how I feel. I think it's great to have both, because if you're better in an exam, then you've got that opportunity to shine if you're in an exam. But it's above my pay grade.
Yes, I'd say they are. There's probably people who are wanting so badly to be involved in sport, but you just always have to kind of reassure them that we're not able to kind of go further because of the government guidelines, but hopefully one day we'll be able to just do more things, I suppose.
Obviously people's own personal opinions and beliefs and things that they've heard come into play, but I think we've got to think of perhaps a person who is taken most seriously, maybe has issues where they don't feel secure. I think it's everybody's responsibility to look after them. So if we do what we're meant to be doing, it's helping it absolutely every day. So whether you agree with it or not, I don't really care. Just very please do it.
Yes, occasionally some people will slip, like you'll see people walking down the corridors with no masks on or forget to sanitise. But my favourite thing now is to shout down the corridor at people to put their face masks on or sanitise. So no, I think they're doing all right.
Yeah, I feel really safe. Being kind of reassured all the time that there is those measures in place that we have to stick to, and there is various PPE equipment available. I do feel safe at work, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely do feel safe at Arran High School. Constant sanitation, realistically it's probably something we should have been doing a long time ago, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I do feel safe at work actually. We've got sanitiser everywhere. We've got sanitising wipes everywhere. We clean and steam the sofas after every visit we have from anybody. So yeah, I would say I feel safe, and on sanitising, I'm just used to it now, to be honest.
It feels really safe in here, safer than it's ever been, I suppose. We've got, hand sanitising stations, we've got temperature checks, everything's socially distanced. So the indoor youth work guidelines are actually, if anything, a little stricter than high school guidelines. Ours is that people must be 2 metres apart. There's no scope for sort of sitting in a classroom next to each other sort of thing. It has to be 2 metres. So we've really actually had to redesign youth cabins in a sense. So it actually feels quite bare in here at the moment. We've really had to limit the numbers way down in terms of the numbers of young folk that are allowed in. So it's good being reopened, it's really good being reopened and seeing everyone again, because we have missed them. But on the other hand, it would be nice to get back to the day where we can have dozens of young folk in here. That seems like a long time away, to be honest. Dozens of young folk in here and just all sitting around the couch together and not having to distance, and not having to distance from us as well, but we don't know when that will be.
I feel completely safe at work. We have worked very, very hard to make sure that everything is as safe as it possibly can be. And I think that we're very, very lucky to live in Arran and work in Arran, because not only was the instances of COVID very, very small, in fact there wasn't any up until this week, but I would say that our young people, absolutely, because of the community that we live in, really respect the fact that there are older people and that people that live round about them, and they understand that community and school are one.